Stuart Cameron talking rugby on this edition with the man who's become the voice of rugby in the Borders in this decade, and that's Stuart McCulloch. Now, Stuart, first thing we hear when listening to you is the passion for the game.
Well, I think I'm not going to hide the fact, Stuart, that enjoy doing the rugby. It's always been, I think I'm a frustrated rugby player, and I think it probably comes across when we're doing games every Saturday. I just love the game, and we're very pro rugby in this area, and I think sometimes it can get a bit frustrating at times. There's various things that have happened over the years, which no doubt you're probably going to talk about this today. But I love it. I think it's a great job to do. Going there, covering the games. You can say what you see, and effectively, and that's it. And sometimes I may be guilty of getting a wee bit too caught up in the moment, but that's just the way I am, I'm afraid.
Still love the amateur rugby, and that's why we love Borders rugby, don't we?
You can't be a border derby, really. And people do say, sometimes you can be a wee bit too much biased towards, perhaps border teams when we're playing Edinburgh teams. Well, of course we are, because we're Borders, we stick together, it's us against them. But, if we see teams playing well, you're always got to say it, regardless who it is. I just like to see good rugby being played, and I think, I think everybody else and the spectators going to watch it as well. That's what they want to see too.
So how did you start in the commentary thing? Because obviously Bill McLaren, one of you here, everybody's hero.
It's it was a guilty pleasure, I think, really, when you think about it. I was brought up, in Hawick, born and bred. At high school, my headmaster was Jim Telfer. When I was at primary school, we had the rugby coach was Bill McLaren. Under 16s with Colin Deans, Tony Stanger, Greg Oliver, boys like that coaching you. And at that time, you're thinking, well, they're just normal boys. It's, that's just the way it is. And I think you benefited from that in this day and age now. It's lucky if you get youngsters. Maybe now and again you'll have some players that'll come down from Edinburgh or Glasgow, come to schools and see that. But, the guys that used to play the rugby, they could be playing at the Parc des Princes as it was one week, and then you'd see them playing at Mansfield Park the following Saturday, and I think that's lost its kind of edge a wee bit. I think boys wanted to get involved, and I'm sure we'll go on about this. You take a look at the Premier clubs now, great stuff, full of passion. I think there's a lot of boys out there. We've got a great set of players in the Borders as a whole, and I think, there's no stepping stone for boys that are playing amateur rugby, yet they could be signed up, snapped up by Edinburgh or Glasgow, but I think there's something missing. There's a tier missing there for the players to make that jump from amateur into pro rugby, because it's like they're just thrown in, and you get some players that are signed up, maybe academy players, under 18s, they get strength, they get conditioning. Let them go back to their clubs on a Saturday. Don't have this rule of you can't play 2 games for your club, you've got to go back here or there. Let them play rugby every Saturday. And I know they're on about burnout and all that kind of thing, but for the guys that are on the fringes, let them back to their clubs, because people want to see these players back at their own club.
And you mentioned the stepping stone. Of course, that doesn't really exist, and hopefully we'll get the district back in the south of Scotland, and that will help.
Well, I think that, the old inter-district championship, there was nothing better. The crowds were immense, and watching the likes of, in my mind, the likes of Derek Turnbull and all these guys, running about the park, rampaging up and down. You used to see them down at Mansfield or down at Netherdale and all that. You had crowds of 5, 6, 7,000 people at these games. And I remember when New Zealand were coming over, and Australia as well. It was just a great thing. But they need to bring back, we've had the South back in the guys playing in Northumberland or Northumberland University. I don't know how it was tagged, and that was great. It kind of got that the old blood stirring again. But I think they do need to bring it back, and that could be your ideal stepping stone for the best of the border players going to the south, and then the SR, you can look at it and say, right, well, here's the pick of the bunch from this lot in the district championship, let's give them a shot at pro level, because we can all pick the Scotland team. We're all very good at that. I'll put my hand up, and you see the people, the likes of Greg Laidlaw, who's obviously missing out on the trip, but I think he'll probably still get there with injuries and such like in New Zealand. But guys like that, I think unfortunate that they're not getting, they've been playing rugby, they've not been injured, they've knocked their pan in. He's a versatile player, and he's missed out. And I think it's quite a shame, really. But again, it could be because he's a border boy for Jed.
And of course, Nicky Walker as well missing out.
But that's injury. That's I remember watching Nicky, and when he first started playing for Hawick, we were down at Scremerston. And he must have scored about 3, 4, 5 tries that day down at Scremerston in a Border League game. And you're thinking, where's this boy come from? Young boy. And we thought, he's got to go places. And of course he has. And of course with pro rugby, he's now down in Wales, obviously. It'd be good to see him come back, and hopefully he will one day come back and play for Hawick.
Absolutely. Now, going back to the commentary thing again, I mean, as you said, obviously everyone loves Bill McLaren, or loved Bill McLaren and the way he did it, and he was very meticulous with his notes and things like that. You actually throw the notebook away, don't you?
Well, as you know, because you've been out with me one or two games, over the years, Stuart, and I think, I don't know what it is. Some people do it differently. I like to get to the game, get set up, and maybe have a word with the coaches beforehand, speak to some of the players, and you just get little tidbits from them that way. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's just in my head, and these things just spring in my head. I don't write a lot of things down. And I'll have one or two notes, but not like screeds of paper. Like, Bill McLaren, he was just the master. Everybody does it the different way. I know yourself, you like to put down lots of paper in front of you as well. It's all stored in my head, and I don't know why. And hopefully, as I get older, I'm going to have to start writing it down, I think, to be honest, because I think the old mind will start to go. But no, it's just one of these things. I'm just passionate about it. I enjoy it. You see some of the boys on a Saturday night, wherever you are out and about, you get a chat with them, you say, "Oh, my mum said that you said I was playing bad," and it's just banter. But that's the beauty of it down here. It is just banter. And you'll say to a guy, "You did play well," or "You didn't play well." In my opinion, they might not take my opinion like a pinch of salt. It doesn't really matter. But all I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to paint the picture for people that are not at the game, and just kind of get them in and get them involved, and hopefully that comes across that way.
And I know sometimes you give the refs the odd bit of banter, but afterwards, you're talking to them, and that's the whole thing.
Well,
it
is. I mean, I think they're under pressure now. Referees, the fourth official and all that. And I think, we've got great referees up and coming. David Crudge stopped for a while, had come back. I think Canu Rudkin, the one you've got McMenemy from Gala. In fact, he was doing a game quite recently down in Melton. Ian Rogerson still going strong, from Selkirk. And you don't want to berate these guys, and it does get frustrating when they've not got eyes in the back of their head, and when you've got assistant referees, sometimes they're not getting help from the assistant referees, and I think that's when my frustration comes out, when I can see something that's quite clearly happened, the referee hasn't, but then that's what you've got these assistant referees there for, to help out the man in the middle. And sometimes, I may say things, but I do retract them later on if I feel they need retracted.
Yes. But of course the Borders referees, I mean, we've got some fantastic referees, and have gone on to really good things.
Well, they have. I mean, I think Ian Herd now, who's running the show, for the Borders area, he's passionate. You've got guys like Ali Campbell from Jed. I remember when Ali played for Jed Forest, team manager there. He's getting involved. Scotty Tomlinson from Selkirk, they're all getting involved now with the refereeing. It's great to see players, former players, coming back into the game and actually giving something back, and they'll get the respect of the players because they've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. And you always know when you've got a referee that's played the game, you'll see a game flow that much better.
Yeah, it's good to see the players coming back. I mean, we've got Scott Tomlinson, of course, at the moment, who seems to be going up the list as well, and we all encourage that to happen. Well,
we do. I would hate to be a referee. I would absolutely hate it, because I think you're under so much pressure. And I don't know if they're thinking, maybe I'll chat to one of the boys soon, but I think, they in the back of their mind be thinking, right, I want the game to flow. We always say, we want the game to flow, and it helps with the crowd as well. And if you're speaking to the players as the referees do, it makes it a lot easier for them. But when they're under pressure, because you've got the fourth official with the clipboard in the stand, they're under pressure as well. They've got to get marked, and what they don't know, or what some players or people don't know, is the referees have got to go under fitness regimes as well. So they're always under scrutiny on the pitch and off the pitch as well, which is quite hard. And I take my hat off them. If we didn't have referees, we wouldn't have games.
It's as simple as that, isn't it?
It's as simple as that, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, obviously, in the board, we've got lots of things in the board. We've got the South of Scotland, we've got the Border League, we've got the Kings of the Sevens, of course. We'll talk about all of them. But let's start with the Border League, because I know all the guys on Radio Borders were very passionate about it, and talking to the clubs and the players, they're very passionate about it. But I still personally think that we haven't quite got the format right with the pool system.
Well, Stuart, and I've said this time and time again, since the new format had come in, Pool A and Pool B, you can see what they're trying to do, but in my book, you cannot win a Border League by playing 4 games or 5 games. Everybody has got to play everybody. Then, top of the pile, they are the Border League champions. That's the way it should be. Obviously, fixture congestion, winter, these kind of things, they've all got to come into the equation. But surely we can find 9 Saturdays or midweek games or night games, wherever, where we can get these teams played. One season they're at home, the next season they're away. And I think I would like to see it back that way, but, I'm not the man in charge.
Yeah, well, luckily, I was talking to Bob Hogarth, who's obviously the new president of the Border League, and it was very encouraging what he was saying because of the new format with the RBS Cup, double heading. I mean, that's a godsend for a start, so that's going to help. But I think the main problem is Langham and Berwick playing 22 games in the National League or East League or whatever that they're doing, and that means obviously lots of fixture congestion. Next year, of course, they will go down to 18, so there will suddenly be 4 Saturdays available, and that's a way forward, surely, to get everyone playing each other.
Well, it certainly is, and you mentioned teams like Langham and Berwick, even Hoyk YM now as well, working their way up the leagues. I think, and we've talked about this on numerous occasions, Stuart, is the fact that, why wouldn't it be great if they had like a 2-tier system in the Border League?
2 or even 3.
Yeah. For the likes of your Langhams, your Berwicks, your Hoyk YMs to get involved at that level, because, they don't want to be playing Melrose and that and getting, 60, 70 points racked past them, week in, week out. It doesn't do anybody any good, that, to be honest. But I think if we could get that into place, that would be fantastic, and it would, it would get the old blood boiling again.
Yeah, I mean, I love that idea. I mean, I've championed that idea, and I think also as well, instead of kind of like taking Berwick and Langham out of the Border League, which is controversial, what we do is we get all the other local teams. There's 17 main
like
clubs
Duns
in there.
and Hoytland Dean, all these players.
Yeah, why not bring them in? Have a Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and you've got a scenario at the moment where we've got 7 Premier clubs. That could be one league. You've got 5 underneath that, and I mean, I would love to go and see like Duns and Langham and Berwick and Hoyk YM and Hoytland Dean all in one league. I think everyone on their day could beat each other, makes it more competitive, and local derbies as well. And then down below, Division 3, if you like, you've got your Walkerburn, St Boswells, Earlstons, Gallow IMs, that sort of thing. I mean, to me, that is workable. And of course, by doing it that way, you're reducing again the fixtures.
Well, you are reducing the fixtures, and what also you're doing is you're bringing money into your club.
Absolutely.
That's it as well, because the treasurers and presidents will look at that and think, well, this is a local derby for us. I mean, for example, down at Milntown, Langham Hoyk YM, what a crowd, absolutely fantastic, first game of the season, and they would be rubbing their hands, the amount of people who were in that bar and on the banking on that Saturday afternoon. And I think, it will stir the interest, but it's how it's put to the table and how it'll go forward. Is it the Border clubs? Do they decide it themselves, or it's up to them to say, right, this is how we want it to be? And I'm sure Bob Hogarth will be getting a lot of perhaps letters or thoughts to think how the Border League should perhaps expand in the future. And you take a look at that. I mean, example, you had Jed Forrest playing Harrington there a few weeks back, and a great win for Jed Forrest, running in 12 tries, looked good. Harrington were not at the races. I don't know if it was maybe early season, maybe some players missing or not, but it's always that question about Harrington, a club from East Lothian. I can see they're trying to build and get up there. I'm all for clubs that want to push themselves, promote themselves, be a better team. They want to be involved. The Border League, the oldest league in the world, who wouldn't want to be involved with that? But you need to look at that and think, well, it's the Border League. So let's keep it Border teams. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm totally with you on that, because I mean, as I say, we've got nothing against Haddington. Similarly, when I say, look, Berwick and Langham shouldn't necessarily be competing with the Melroses, nothing against them at all, but surely it must be a positive thing for them to say, well, look, we would rather play a competitive match against another local team rather than, before we even set foot on the coach, we're going to get dubbed by 60, 70 points.
But then again, Stuart, on the other side of the coin, you could look at that and think, well, some players, who probably would never get a chance to, we're going to play Melrose at the Green Yards, what an occasion that's going to be. So there is another side to the coin, but I think common sense has got to prevail in that, and I hope that we do get it sorted and the Border League does go back into a format where it's one league and one at the top of the tree wins that league, and again that second tier system with your Langhams, your YMs, and then underneath obviously St Boswells, Earlston, Gallow IM, Lindeen, all that'd be a great idea, and I hope that will hopefully in my lifetime come to fruition.
Well, we'll do our best. We'll try and push that one through. But of course, this year, the great thing about it is the RBS Cup has now gone regionalised. Fantastic, because it means we can have border derbies. It also means that it's the best teams that we're going to see. We're not going to see development sides going out, so downgrading the Border League. It's going to be double headers, and that is meaning a feast of rugby throughout November, and I just can't wait for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think that's one of the good ideas that's come out, and as you say, it's going to be competitive, and it is going to be a feast of rugby, and I just hope, because they're predicting for November not so nice weather, typical, but we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. I think it's a great idea, and clubs will benefit from that.
Now, you mentioned the weather, and of course the good thing about it now is that those games will have to be played, even though they're maybe down the road a couple of weeks because of the weather. Whereas before, because it was the Border League fixtures that were just thrown away.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the thing is, hit the nail on the head there, Stuart. These matches will have to be played, so it's not a case of, it's just the Border League, we'll just knock it back until next March, April time. They have to be played within a specific time, and I think that's the beauty of it. And, I think we will get these games played, and I think some teams, I think the last 2-3 years, going back to the Border League, I don't think some of the teams have fulfilled all their fixtures in that Pool A or Pool B.
And there'll be more from that interview with Stuart McCulloch on next week's programme.